Nuclear energy is the energy in the nucleus or core of an atom. Atoms are tiny units that make up all matters in the universe, and energy is what holds the nucleus together. There is a huge amount of energy in an atom's dense nucleus. I am into nuclear power due to its numerous benefits, which includes less environmental damage. It doesn't really pose so much pollution, and it is a kind of renewable energy. It strikes a balance between low efficiency energy that is renewable. What is more, it is highly efficient. What do you think?
Well, yes, it's true. However, I believe that there are more cons of nuclear energy. Should I talk about them?
Sure.
First, nuclear power has long-term unsustainability. An example would be waste disposal of nuclear energy, which also explains how risky nuclear energy can be. The waste generated by nuclear reactors remains radioactive for tens to hundreds of thousands of years, so that's a long time. Currently, there are no long-term storage solutions for radioactive waste, and most is stored in temporary above-ground facilities. These facilities are running out of storage space, so the nuclear industry is turning to other types of storage that are more costly and potentially less safe. So, since the 1950s, a stockpile of 25,000 tons of highly radioactive nuclear waste has been accumulated and distributed across the world, with 90,000 metric tons stored in the US alone. See, that's a large amount of nuclear energy stored in unsafe places.
Oh, yes. I believe that our energy should be sustainable.
Definitely. Except for that, nuclear plants may also face a big problem as soon as we use it in the long term. Because nuclear plants is made up of uranium, and uranium isn't something renewable. Hence, we might face the problem of lack of uranium in the long term. Uranium is one of the main elements to build the nuclear plant. However, it will one day be used up if we continue to build more nuclear plants. Though there are alternatives like thorium, those won't be sustainable as well, and sooner or later, it will one day become like fossil fuel, something that won't be renewable. These alternatives are as well less clean compared to uranium. According to Investopedia, thorium uses fuel, which is part of like fossil fuel, and it's also bad to the environment.
I also searched on the web and found that nuclear power is in fact very expensive. In most countries, there have to be public subsidies to make the nuclear option look competitive, applying a carbon price of about $30 per ton of carbon dioxide emitted by fossil fuel power station would make fossil fuel electricity much more expensive and make nuclear look more attractive. Optimists had assured us that a promised new generation of reactors could deliver cheaper electricity, but we cannot afford to delay tackling climate change for decades. Nuclear power is not a perfect idea.
Yes, definitely. Except for that, one even concerned problem is the risks of nuclear energy. The Fukushima and the Chernobyl bombings are caused by nuclear power. Nuclear energy isn't inherently dangerous when it is used, but it is easily abused by terrorists. Nuclear power plants is a target for many terrorism attacks. It could cause major explosions that could wipe out towns and even cities, putting a whole population at risk. Many people use something positive, such as nuclear power plants, for negative intentions, such as terrorism attacks. One single problem could lead to an absolute disaster, and the risks that nuclear power plants could lead to is more than enough to outweigh the investing nuclear energy. If, unfortunately, a natural disaster happens, it could kill millions of life, or if not, it could bring radioactive elements to others' bodies. which will cause long-term effects. Do you know that except for risks of nuclear energy, there are also some practical difficulties of using nuclear energy?
For example, in terms of the construction speed, on world average, it takes 75 months to build a low-power nuclear plant, and it can take up to more than 200 months to build a high-power one.
Yes, disposal space is also a problem. To be honest, there are a lot of alternatives. They may be less effective or less efficient. However, they are definitely more safe and more environmental friendly.
Examples include solar energy, natural gas, hydrogen.
Yes, nuclear energy isn't technically a renewable energy source. It just doesn't produce CO2 emissions and is slightly better than fossil fuels. However, nuclear energy will eventually run out. So, we believe that it's better for the long term if we use sustainable and renewable energy sources such as wind power, solar power, and more. These may be also less cheap than building a nuclear plant and may take less time.
Time is up for this episode. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening.